what you've actually created is the most awesome pawn shop in the world.
Never take yourself too seriously. And Greg, I agree with you. We're a high-end pawn shop. Absolutely true.
Welcome to an Encore podcast presentation from Forbes Books at ForbesBooks.com.
I'm talking with Alan Snyder. He's the managing partner of Shinnecock Partners at Shinnecock.com. It's SHINNECOCK.com, although I'm probably going to spell it wrong at some point with an E instead of an A. The A is there for me to make sure I pronounce it correctly. And another website I want to throw out that we're going to talk about extensively here is artlending.com, which was a brilliant move on your part. Let's not go down that road yet. Let's establish what you do, and then we'll talk about artlending.com. But on the website at Shinnecock.com for Shinnecock Partners is this beautiful, beautiful picture of the Shinnecock Inlet on Long Island. And there's this quote I want you to explain. The quote is, "Returning from the ocean hazards to the protection of a sheltered bay." Why is that the most dominant or one of the most dominant parts of your website?
I think many investors have a suspension of disbelief about the risks of whatever they're undertaking. You know, with a 10-year bull market, people seem to have forgotten the risks that existed and we all experienced in 2008, 2009, where the equity S&P 500 went down, 52%. NASDAQ went down 72%. So it was a pretty hair-raising time. At Shinnecock Partners, I should quickly add, we're focused on not losing money. That losing money, to put it in the vernacular, really sucks. And since Shinnecock started its life many, many years ago, after I quit Wall Street, as a family office, I started it, had a few pennies, and didn't want to lose it because, gosh knows, I knew that Wall Street never met a fee they didn't like, frequently casual about risk, because when I was a young punk, I was guilty of both charges. So I started Shinnecock way back then and created, mostly for me, a kind of all-weather fund of funds, which has motored along comfortably for 30 years. Oh, my God.
Now, there's some math.
Yeah. Now, we had started the alternative lending pool in 2016. And as we were motoring along, a friend of mine, having been in the business forever, said, "Alan, you love niche investing." And he had a big credit fund. He said, "I'm dabbling in lending against high-end, museum quality, fine art. And I think you'll like it, Snyder." We looked at it. It said, Shazam, it looks pretty attractive. So we began doing it as one of the sleeves in this alternative lending fund. We incubated it there, Greg, for 22 months. We decided that the documents most other hedge funds were using were not as robust to protect the lender, us, as we thought they should be. So we redid all of them. We wrote a white paper, which is on our website, Shinnecock.com, and no accounting for taste. It got republished in a few places, and we started getting calls saying, "Gee, it sounds pretty good. Is there a vehicle?" And the answer was no. So we began thinking about it, and so we spent, I get the luxury these days of tilting at windmills a little bit. We spent a year creating a very attractive legal structure to invest in that has some uncommon, very unusual benefits. For an offshore investor, there is no effectively connected income. That is worth 200 or 300 basis points in yield. For a tax-qualified investor, There is no UBTI, very attractive. And for a taxable investor, unlike almost every credit fund I see, we're able to deduct pre-tax 100% of the investment expenses. Now, what does that mean for cash in your jeans? On an after-tax basis, that's about a plus 1% or 100 basis points. Now, that launched us, and we broke it out as a separate vehicle. Now, what do we really do, and why do I like it? I'm the largest individual investor in it, and it's really fascinating. The art world, high-end museum quality fine art, is about a $68 billion a year transaction business. There's approximately $23 billion of outstanding art loans, and yet the area is still capital short. Very attractive, therefore. Now, the collateral, very important as a lender, of course, has some fascinating characteristics. One, art has appreciated, high-end fine art, I should say, has appreciated at a compound 8% for the last 50 years, pretty steadily. Boy, as a lender, you want to have appreciating collateral. Compare that, if you will, to an auto loan. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I already compared it.
Oh yeah. Or equipment or anything else like that. You got an appreciating asset. That warms my black heart.
Yes.
Second, art is like gold. It moves around the world with currency fluctuations. So if I live in Los Angeles, so if the LA market is poor, unlike the office building I'm looking at out my window, I can sell the art in Abu Dhabi, Hong Kong, London, wherever, and have that additional protection of it. Now, so that's pretty nifty about the collateral. Furthermore, we lend against art at a very modest loan-to-value ratio, basically less than 50% of the value of the art. Now, to convince myself, among others, we said, well, is that enough? Sotheby's owns an index called the May Moses Index of major pieces of art that have been through 2 or more auctions. They go back almost 50 years with that index. And we said, well, what's been the largest declination in this asset category? Greg, you want to hazard a guess? I know you're supposed to ask the question. You want to guess what year it was? I missed it.
You're not going to let me guess.
Okay, go ahead.
You said 19, so I was actually going to guess 2008. But
1990, there was a mild recession.
Yes, I remember it well, painfully.
And art went down, high-end art went down 25%. In the crunch that we all would like to forget of 2008, 2009, art went down 22%, 22.5% to be precise. That was comforting. We went one step further and said, however, since we're doing primarily one-year term loans where we get paid the interest up front, subtracting it from the loan proceeds, the borrower pays the insurance costs, and here's the shocker, the borrower pays the storage costs for the art because we take possession of the collateral in a high-end art warehouse under our control.
So can I just make an observation here?
Of course.
What you've actually created is the most awesome pawn shop in the world.
Never take yourself too seriously. Greg, I agree with you. We're a high-end pawn shop. Absolutely true. And it's worked.
It's clearly well worth investigating. And so
Thank
let's wrap it up there. And I want to give out
All right.
both of the websites again. He is Alan Snyder. He's the managing partner. The company is Shinnecock Partners. 2 websites. The first is shinnecock.com, SHINNECOCK.com. artlending.com. If you get to artlending.com, which is a little easier to spell, I think it'll guide you there back to Shinnecock. Both are,
True.
as Alan said, I can and I will vouch for. There is just a wealth of information there. Alan, you are apparently never at a loss for words, because you have created an incredible. You and your team have created an incredible amount of content, very useful and also very entertaining content there. In fact, I've started getting emails from you, and everyone ends with basically, "If you disagree with me, I want to know so we can argue about it." I love that.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Again, Alan Snyder, Shinnecock Partners, shinnecock.com, SHINNECOCK.com, artlending.com. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. We could talk for hours. This has been fascinating, but I think for this conversation, I think it's time to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Godspeed. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this Encore podcast presentation from Forbes Books at forbesbooks.com.